Now, let's get this thing on the road, all right? My name again is Clay Green. I'm a 48-year-old, experienced in a lot of things kind of guy. And I've got some interesting perspectives, some interesting stuff to share with you guys. And I'm looking forward to doing that right now. So let me get back over here to the right place and get things started. All right, here we go. So again, my name's Clay, founder of Enthusiastic Clay. And what I'm going to do today is I'm going to explain kind of some stuff that's happened in my past that gives me the understanding and the knowledge to hopefully help you if you're the right person. There's dozens and dozens of opportunities out there to understand this basic same stuff that we're talking about and the same habits that you should be developing and all that stuff to help retrain your brain to empower you to be where you want to be. But I do have my own unique and fun stories and all that good stuff. And if you're the right person, maybe this is going to be that one little thing that just blows you up and makes things crazy for you, crazy good. All right. Where do we need to start? I want to get something out of the way real quick. First off, I am offering a new training course. It's down below. You can see it. You've probably already clicked on it already. The price this week, the price right now is $74. And the reason I'm doing that really, really inexpensively, the end goal is going to be probably around $300. And the reason is there's some other ideas I have to put in that training that is going to probably make it a little bit better up for that with one-on-one stuff. You see that, well, maybe you don't see yet. One of the bonuses is some one-on-one time with me. So I'm going to make sure everything's good in that training with you. Make sure you're satisfied. That's why I'm lowering that price instead of going, I know that this training is an awesome standalone thing. Don't get me wrong. What's in that training is gold, and I know it is because of the people that I've helped and all that good stuff and how their lives have changed and how my life has changed since I've implemented and started doing these things. So that's what that training thing is about. That's what the link down below is, and I kind of want to get that out of the way first. Now, but the thing is, it is relative to what we're talking about, all right? Because belief circles and targets, which is the name of the course, first off, everything after this webinar, after this online training is going to be different. That's kind of the goal. This training sets like a foundational level of your understanding of what's going on inside your brain. Steps, once you understand this and apply a couple habits, is belief circles and targets. Once you get belief circles and targets done, and you're applying what you learned today in belief circles and targets, it's almost like time to sit back and just watch things happen. It's amazing. So there's the sales pitch a little bit there. We're done with that. Now, what are we doing here today? It's that foundational stuff. And it's crazy. My goal, the reason I'm doing this is because I'm 48 years old and I've spent decades struggling. I have spent decades trying to build businesses and trying to do things for myself, and I couldn't. I would get to a certain point in everything that I tried, every venture, every adventure that I tried, I would get to a certain point and I would stop. And then it got really annoying because like I would sit there and go to bed at night and I would snuggle up and I would think, well, why didn't I do this? Or why didn't I do that? Why didn't I get this done and get that done? And I would beat myself up consistently, knowing what I should have been doing, knowing what I should have done, knowing I had time to do it, knowing I had the energy to do it, knowing I had the resources to do it, and I still didn't do it. Why not? Now I know. Now I understand what's going on inside my head. And that's what I'm going to share with you in just a few seconds here. We're going to start talking about my story a little bit, and we're going to tie it all together, and it's going to come out good. But I'm just going to, here's the punchline. All right. I'm going to tell you right now to get this out of the way. And if you want to, you can freaking leave here. When you say, oh, it's another freaking webinar, another guy saying the same thing. Yep. I'm saying the same thing. Ain't nothing new out there. Well, there are new stuffs. What's new is my perspective, my understanding, and my story of what happened to get me motivated to actually do and apply. And it's helped a lot of people at this point because I do have a unique way of explaining it. We'll talk, that's what we're gonna do in just a minute. But here's the punch, you ready? Here's the bottom line. There's two things that you need to be doing on a daily habit, have a daily habit of doing these two things. And if you're not doing them, basically what you're doing right now is kind of on autopilot. You may be, and the things that you're struggling and striving and straining to do, those are what you need to implement these habits to overcome and do. It's not the task. I've helped people build Amazon businesses. I've helped people become publishers, writers, direct marketers, multi-level marketing, info marketers, social media managers, IT business owners. I've helped all kinds of people, relationships. I've helped a lot of different people. And it comes down to this same basic concept. And here they are. You need to be meditating and you need to be journaling. That's it. Now, before you go freaking out, your idea of meditation and your idea of journaling and why you haven't done it, those things that popped up in your head when I said those words and you said, dang it, I need to meditate. I knew it, but I hate meditating, or I hate journaling, or I don't like doing this, or I don't like doing that. Little piece is the piece that we're going to be talking about today. That piece that stops you from doing what you know you should be doing. My goal today is to empower as many people as I can to develop those habits. If that's all that if I do that, I win. If I get one person to freaking start meditating and understand what I mean by meditating, I don't, like, you might have a picture of, you know, a Tibetan monk with his legs crossed and his hands in these postures and going om, om. That is one form of meditation. There's an infinite number, or infinite literally styles and methods and all that. Infinity. You don't have to do it that way. There's so many options. Start exploring those options. Journaling, same thing. Everything from the little, you know, write a sentence a day, or there's even 5-minute journals, or there's Franklin Covey systems and all these big systems that you could be using to journal, and an infinite array in the middle there. Find what works for you and develop the habit. That is the point of this online training. Why? Why is that so important? What's stopping you from developing those habits? That's why we're here. We're going to talk about that. So in order to do that, though, I need to tell you a little bit about my history. I need to tell you a little bit about my story so that it becomes relevant. Because what we're going to be talking about and the things that I've learned about what's going on inside your noggin, inside your brain, the stuff that I've figured out and how I explain it won't make sense if I just came out and said it. I'm sorry. I've tried it. I've tried a whole lot of different things. Matter of fact, that's part of my story. Let's just go there. So first off, I was born in Alabama, and my parents, something I learned about success over the years, what your parents did when you were like a toddler, when you were like 10, you know, a toddler to about 12, somewhere in there, what your parents were doing for an income then dramatically affects how you think about the world around you, which translates to how successful you are as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. So that's one piece. My dad worked in a factory, literal factory. I'm not kidding. He was a machinist in a factory in Alabama. Yeah. All right. So I got through school with like a general Alabama high school education. Yeah, it was, as I've grown and I've traveled and I've seen other things. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. There's some cool stuff about it, but yeah, Alabama high school education. All right. So what does that have to do with anything? Well, first step, the education. The second step, I became a nuclear reactor operator in the Navy. So it's like, basically they said that that school was the second hardest school in the nation, behind a college degree from this other school. Well, the reality is that those guys getting those college degrees, they got to play in fraternities. They got to go to like sporting events, right? So I don't think it was the second hardest school in the nation. Let's just go there. Over half the people that join the school rock out, meaning they don't make it through because they don't pass the right tests and all that stuff. Me, I made it through that school right in the middle. Like I was just above the 50th percentile. And that's really important because once I got through that school, that qualified me to become a staff pickup instructor. There's the magic. That's when things went click, kind of. Well, they didn't go click then, but I look back now and I can see how, oh yeah, that makes sense. They picked me up as a staff pickup instructor. Less than 1% of the people that start that school become an instructor. So that was my first taste of professionally training other adults. Granted, it was mostly early 20s, late teens, men, which qualifies as kids. So the reality is maybe they weren't adults yet, but that was my first professional training role. And that's kind of what I'm getting to. A few minutes ago, I said I would tie it together. Well, there it is. Like, I've been an adult trainer since then. That's been my gig. That's what I've been doing. I've been helping adults learn new skills, learn new technologies, and apply those technologies. Because I've been doing that for so long, I've gotten pretty good at it. And like I said, the story is needed. My little history here is needed to give you basis on understanding why what I'm talking about, how I learned it, so that it ties it all together, so that it makes sense, so that you can go meditate. All right? That's, and journal. And whatever else is stopping you, you can get that out of the way. All right. So, got through the nuclear reactor operator thing, and then I started working for companies in the semiconductor industry. So, Intel. I worked at Intel for 7 years in that span of 15 or so. I also worked for another company that supplied Intel. My role in that company was I was a trainer. As that trainer, I developed this course. Intel saw this course and they said, holy cow. And they went and they took that course to all their other vendors and they said, guys, this is how you do training. This is how we want you to do training from now on. Copy this. Now, obviously, it wasn't the same material, right? Because I was teaching them how to use this kind of machine, and these guys over here were teaching them how to use that kind of machine and this kind of different machines, but they followed that format. It's one of those things I'm really proud of, along with being a staff pickup. Point is, I've been an adult trainer for a long time in a lot of different roles and a lot of different scenarios. I help people learn things. So right now, close Facebook. Put down your phone, get your pad and paper, and get ready to start taking notes. And I'm going to say it again, go down and interact. You need to interact. You want to learn something? Go down there and put your name in and put your email in and write a question. Let somebody know where you're at, where you're from, and all that stuff. All right, moving forward, where are we going? During the time that I was an adult trainer for all those years, I fell in love with things like snowboarding. That got me into the body. That got me into the point where I was like, okay, this guy needs to learn how to do this kind of turn. So when he does that kind of turn, he needs to feel this little bit of a pain in that part of the muscle, or this little bit of a pinch in that part of the muscle. That's the kind of thing. It got me into the body a little bit and feeling things. Again, baby steps. We're going through this nice and slow so that you can build this picture together. So we can build this picture together to really get you motivated, get you to understand why these habits are so important. The next step was I got into sport bike motorcycles. I really fell in love with kind of going fast on a motorcycle. And it was good stuff. Now, I spent a couple years learning how to ride a motorcycle, more like 3, honestly, 2.5, something like that. And once I got to the point where I was like, oh, I get it. And this is the same thing that I'm sharing with you guys today. I got to this point where I understood how the training in America, being very careful here, and other countries too, but mostly in America, the way that we are trained how to ride a motorcycle as an adult rider is kind of sketchy. So, and the reason is they leave out this little piece of information. It's not as widely disseminated as it needs to be. And that little piece of information is this. If you react on a motorcycle, 100% of your natural reactions, if you've never ridden a motorcycle before, are wrong. 100% of your automatic responses can literally kill you on a motorcycle. So all of a sudden, when I realized that, like I said, it took me like 2.5 years. I realized, holy cow, there's something going on here. And I started helping then I took all that training experience and I started helping new adult riders. And that gave me a lot of practice and understanding in what's going on in the brain. A lot of practice and skill in explaining these concepts. Then something crazy happened. A couple things kind of crazy happened. I got involved in another entrepreneurial endeavor, and I got to that point where I was stopping again. It was very frustrating. And then about 3.5 years ago now, I hit a deer on a motorcycle going 85 miles an hour. I didn't crash. That's the part where I'm like, wait a second. If that kind of like caused you to put down Facebook for a second and go, wait, what did he say? Yeah, I was on a motorcycle going 85 miles an hour, hit a freaking deer, and did not crash. And reality is the deer hit me, but we'll talk about that a little bit more in detail in a second. And did not crash. Now imagine how freaked out you are at that. I was there. I didn't crash after. Crazy, mind blowing. I'm going to tell the story a little bit here. We're going to go into what happened there a little bit, okay? And the reason we're going to do that is because this is the event that triggered my desire and triggered my research into how my brain really works, which brought out this incredible information. And I'm now out here freaking changing lives like crazy. I can't believe when I talk to people, it's like, and we go deep. It's amazing. All right. What happened with the deer? What the heck? I'm going to summarize it because I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. We need to get to the meat of this. We need to get to what you need, what's going to impact you, okay? So here's the bottom line with the deer. I was riding, and this is not a near-death experience at all. I was cool, calm, and collected the whole time. Everything was relaxed. I was just having a freaking awesome day on a motorcycle. And if you guys know sport bikes, that's what I'm doing. I'm moving my upper body around. Yeah, anyway. So all of a sudden I was getting ready to go into a turn and deer eye, boom. And then that deer hit my freaking motorcycle. I felt its neck break. I felt its body warmth wrap around my leg. And then I kept thinking, white line, white line, white line. Focused on where I wanted to go. It's kind of important right there. Then I saw an antler and I thought, oh my goodness, that can get down into my front wheel and cause me to crash. I don't want that. I should stop that. So I reached up with my hand and I caught this deer head and I moved it down here because I didn't want to see the neck and stuff. I thought I decapitated this deer, right? So it's like, whoa. Not freaking out though. I'm like, okay, cool. White line, white line, white line. And then I get around the turn and that is when I kind of went, holy cow, I didn't crash. And I went to throw the deer head away, but it wasn't the deer head. It was part of my motorcycle. It was a mirror. Anyway, so I kept that. I stopped the motorcycle. I put the kickstand down and I freaked out. Like I was cool, calm, and collected. Like I remember everything like it was yesterday. And to this day, I still remember it. And then I went back and I looked at what happened. Now remember, at this point, I had been teaching new adults on motorcycles for about a decade. So I had seen a few crashes and I'd analyzed a few crashes as to what really happened when the dude says, oh, a squirrel ran out in front of me. And they freaked out and they crashed. Yeah, okay. So anyway, I'd done a lot of that. So at this point, I go back and I look. Now what really happened, like when that deer hit me, I flew 12 feet that way and about 6 feet that way. I was in the air for 15 feet on the type of motorcycle that I was on. That's crazy. And then if you don't know what it is, Google it later. YouTube, look up tank slapper. When I landed, my motorcycle was in an unstable state. And so my handlebars were literally doing this 6 times. I know that because of the marks on the road. And I took pictures of them. So I did 6 tank slappers. Oh, obviously the deer hit and my mirror came off, and the part of my bike, it wasn't just the mirror, it was that deer hit so hard that it broke through an 1/8 cast aluminum thing, and it would, anyway, that came off. And then I steered around the turn and I stopped. All that happened. But the funny thing, the crazy part was that my brain did not, I want to say, allow me to register the fact that I flew through the air or the fact that my hands were doing this. Now, the crazy thing about that is if I would have rolled off the throttle or grabbed the brake or accelerated while this was happening, that probably would have crashed me. So that means that this was happening. I reached up and grabbed the mirror and held it down here and maintained my throttle in the right position. Cool, calm, and collected. But I didn't know my hand was doing this. I didn't smell the burning rubber. So like I said this a few seconds ago, I freaked out a little bit because holy cow, like when I went, after I stopped, I come back and then I freaked out because I remember A, B, C, D happening. But in reality, A, B, C, D, I'm sorry, A, B, 1, 2, 3, C, 4, 5, 6, D, all this other stuff happened and my brain didn't register it. It was like I swan dove, man. I freaking dove into trying to learn about my brain. A couple days after this happened, I found a book. That book is called The Rise of Superman. It's by Stephen Kotler. And it talks about the state of flow. Obviously, I was in a state of flow when this happened. Specifically what happened. Now, the whole point of this is what has given me the knowledge to explain what I'm about to explain to you, okay? So when you're in the state of flow is a superhuman level of performance. We've all been there. We've all been in the zone before, okay? Now, there is officially now, in the last decade or so, there's been a lot of research on this. Red Bull and the government are the 2 big ones. They freaking spend a lot of money learning more about it so that they can help put people in it. For example, Red Bull, all these extreme athletes, which the book, The Rise of Superman, it talks about these extreme athletes. Awesome book, highly recommend it. That book, those athletes, they put themselves in a state of flow every time they go operate. Every time they freaking do a jump or are in a race or whatever, they're going into a state of flow. And they do it, they've learned how to do that on their own. Well, now we've got the technology where it's like we know what's going on inside here when they're in a state of flow. The US government, they use it to train snipers and SEALs and all this other to train people. They actually use, they've used it since the start of training, to be honest with you. But they just used it because they tried different things, and oh, doing this thing and then this thing, that works, right? But they didn't know why it worked. They just know that the majority of people, if they do task A, task B, and then they learn this, they learn it faster. Now we know why. And now they're able to amplify that. It's really exciting stuff. So that's one of the things I do, is I help people establish routines that put them into a state of flow. It's not what we're here to talk about today. What all this has to do with how your brain works and why your subconscious is stopping you. So the important thing here to take away from that piece of the story is that when this deer incident happened, my brain unconsciously to me selected which parts of information to let into my consciousness so that I could react to it. And the parts that didn't matter, it didn't let me be conscious of them. For example, I thought I decapitated that deer and that deer's head was going to go down into my front wheel. If that would have happened, it would have caused me to crash. So I needed to know about it. I calmly reached up and stopped it, right? On the other hand, the fact that I was in the air flying when the deer hit, and I can explain to you exactly why the motorcycle jumped. That's a pretty interesting little bit of a story, but it's a little technical. We won't go into all the details now. But I was in the freaking air, but it didn't matter. I was focused on my goal, that white line getting around that turn. And I knew that as long as I was focused on that goal, it didn't matter if I was in the air for a minute or two. Well, a minute would have been bad. A second, let's say, a couple seconds. All right, so there's the point there is a lot of stuff going on in here below our level of consciousness, even in something as extreme as that. Like a life and death decisions are being made by your subconscious. That's a piece of information that you need to like grab a hold of. I'm going to explain more. I'm not done, but that right there may be enough for me to then say, start meditating, start journaling. Those two habits are vital. Once you get to belief circles and targets, which you can get today with bonuses and cheap stuff, it's crazy. Like I want to make sure that people that could buy that course are happy with it. You know what I'm saying? While it's early and it's new. And then once I know that that course is solid, then I can like mass market it. So thank you for being here. Thank you for thinking about it. Thank you for looking at it if you do. All right. And if you don't, that's okay. Still love you. Hope that today helps. I sincerely hope that today helps get this stuff out of your way. And that piece of information, that there is a vast quantity of stuff happening in your head that is not in your consciousness or mine. Just that alone, the fact that you need to be meditating helps you become more and more aware of that. Journaling helps you become more and more aware of that. Not only, there's a lot of other stuff that you can do that will help you become more and more aware of what's going on. But guess why I picked those two? I picked those two because they are the most impactful. I mentioned it a few minutes ago about the research, right? There's a lot of research that has gone into this, and all the research stacks up and it all tells you, meditate, journal. All right, where are we going next? I want to give you a real world, real life example of this subconscious or this unconscious behavior. All right, I want to show you something and explain it to you in a way that hopefully nobody's ever, well, I'm pretty sure nobody's ever explained it this way before, but the goal is, again, to get you to inspire, to get you to understand why you need to take these little specific actions. Start meditating, man, 5 minutes a day. Find five, start building that habit. Start. All right. I'm going to poke you in the eye. I want you to not blink as long as you can. That's where we're going, okay? It would be a lot better if I was sitting next to you and I could actually like move my finger over here like I'm going to poke you in the eye. But the bottom line is, you understand the goal, right? I want to get my finger as close to your eye as I can without you blinking. Just the fact that I said blink and the lights that I've got on here make me want to close my eyes, right? But I want you to not blink, all right? So as I'm moving my finger towards your eye, we need to stop. I want to stop time for a second, because time really doesn't exist except the way that our brain stacks it up, right? Because there's this moment here, there's now, and then there's the moment, there's the moment after now. So there's before, now, after, okay? Your brain stacks those things up, and that gives us this perception of time. Well, I want to stop for a second. I want to stop in the now, okay? And I want to go deep. I'm going to explain to you what's going on out here and in there, in the brain, now, wherever it was, okay? So first step, let's just get the technology out of the way. Let's make believe we're sitting across from each other at a coffee shop or something like that. We're not going to talk about the satellites. We're not going to talk about the CPU. We're not going to talk about the camera. Actually, we are going to use the camera a little bit when we talk about the eye. All right, so here we go. Now, what's happening? There's light out here. That light is hitting me. It's hitting my finger. It's hitting the wall behind me. It's hitting the table. It's hitting the office. It's hitting the computer, the mouse, the keyboard. It's hitting everything that you have coming into your eyes right now. All these little things are called photons, and they're coming into your eyes. Those photons are all traveling at different wavelengths, and that's what makes up color, for example. You can see the difference between my shirt and my neck and all this stuff back here. Well, the frequency, that's one of the little things. It doesn't really matter. What matters is, let's go here. Now, photons are hitting this stuff, and they're going into your eye. And right about here, about that far behind your eyeball, is the focal point. And that focal point is like a photoreceptor. And like I said, we're going to talk about the camera a little bit. It's kind of like a camera lens, a digital camera lens, because coming out the back of that is a wire. Picture a wire, like if you're listening on headphones, it's a wire like that, right? So out here, there are physical things called photons, and those physical things are being converted to an electrical signal. Electrical signal is generated right back here with the photoreceptor. I don't know what I can't remember the official long words, and I'm not going to go there. I'm kind of like a base level. Let's just talk about it, guy. So what happens? That electrical signal on both sides, it kind of goes down a little bit, and it's around the outside of your brain, and it goes underneath your ear, and it heads back toward the back. It comes around the back toward the middle of your brain back here, the core, the stem, the top of your spinal cord, the bottom of your brain, where all that stuff connects, right back here. There's two pieces of information that matter. There's picture that wire. That wire is going back here, and there's other wires attached to it. Let's do it this way. Click. There's a whole bunch of other wires attached to it. And there's only two pieces of information that matter. How big is it? How fast is it? That's all that matters right now. Do you remember being a kid and you guys used to play the flinch game? Somebody would swing at you really fast, and if you flinched, then they got to hit you, right? Well, that flinch, right? So right now, actually, no, not right now. Right now, is there anything big in your environment? Is there anything big and moving fast in your environment? No, right? So then that signal that there's nothing big, there's nothing fast, that hits this middle of the back of the brain. I like to tap my fingers back there like this because that's the spot. That's where the oh shit switch lives. That goes back to my motorcycle days. The reason I call it an oh shit switch is because it asks 3 questions. And on a motorcycle, typically what happens is somebody does something wrong and then they say, oh shit. All right, so the 3 questions that this switch is asking: is this going to kill me? Do I want to eat this? Can I and do I want to have sex with this? That's the 3 questions. And right now, let's go back. All it knows is there's nothing big and there's nothing fast. That's all it knows, right? Nothing big, nothing fast. So nothing big, nothing fast. Is it going to kill you? No. Is it going to, or do you want to eat it? No. You want to have sex with it? No. So nothing happens. That switch stays in one position. Whereas on the other hand, if I were swinging at you, or if there were a wrecking ball coming through your wall, you would probably blink. Because that switch would go, yes, it's big and it's fast. Duck, right? You see the difference? We'll talk about what happens when it goes yes in a minute. I want to stay in the no position. For now, I want to finish this description of what's going on inside your brain. So if the switch stays in the no position, we've got the photons hitting your eye, we've got the signal coming down here. Is it big? Is it fast? Is it going to kill you? No. Then this signal goes up through the middle of your brain, right through the 2 different halves. It goes right through the middle of that, up toward the frontal lobe. Now, it hadn't hit the frontal lobe yet because now on that path, there's a whole bunch more wires connected to it. And that's where everything else gets figured out. So now, going back to that moment in time now, right now, things like what color is it? And it, at this point, your brain literally tries to define a color for everything in your vision, all the way out to the edge of your peripheral. Blue, red, white, pink, gray, blue, whatever, right? But we're focused on the finger here, right? Because I had you really focusing on that. So right at this point, your brain is looking at that finger and it's saying, what color is it? What shape is it? What's it attached to? Where is it at in space? All that information gets added as that signal is going through the middle of your brain to your frontal lobe. Finally, in the moment that is now, all that information gets to your frontal lobe. That's where the big Microsoft Excel spreadsheet is. And it takes, and it says, okay, it's this color, it's this size, it's this shape, it's attached to this, Clay's face is over here. All that information hits that comparator, this big spreadsheet, and it says, okay, there's Clay's finger, there's Clay's hand, there's Clay's face, there's my computer, there's my water, there's my coffee, here's Facebook. Put Facebook down. All right, so all that stuff finally gets recognized. Now, here's the $1 million question. You ready? This is the biggie. What happened first? Oh shit switch? Or you knew what was going on around you? Think about that for a second. Think about the signal path, right? The signal path went through the oh shit switch first, and then it came up to the front of your brain where you started to understand everything going on around you. That means before you are aware of what is going on around you, your body can react. How about do you ever remember being bitten by a mosquito and you smacked it and you looked down and, oh, it was a wasp or a bee? So you get a little pinch, you react, and then you look down and you see, oh, it's a bee, not a wasp, or not a mosquito. So you acted before you knew what was going on. How about a backfire or a loud banging noise somewhere? Bang! And you jerk, you duck, right? And then you turn around to look and see what happened. What happened? Well, if it's just normal traffic, it was a backfire. Or maybe a piano fell. Or maybe there's a construction site and something happened on the construction site. Or maybe somebody shot a gun. But you ducked way before you knew what was happening, right? That's important. That's really, really, really important. Why is that so important? Because we just described how things happen out here in the world and how that stuff interacts with you and how your switch happens before you're consciously aware of what's going on around you. Your body will react to something happening outside you before you're aware of what's going on, if it's severe enough. That's huge. All right. What does that mean to you? What does that matter? Here's how this matters. Here's what matters. Let's do it. Let's do an experiment. Think about your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your wife, or maybe not. Maybe a date that you had recently. Maybe you met someone recently and you remember what she looked like. Or he looked like. Or maybe you saw somebody in a movie or a music video or something. Go there for a second. Think about that person. Think about when you met your wife. Think about when you met your husband. What were they wearing? What was their hair like? What was the environment? Was it a bar? Was it a library? Right now, what should be happening if you're doing this exercise appropriately. Now, and granted, I didn't let's go into like a meditative state, and I didn't take us down like a hypnosis road. But the point is, if you spend a few minutes and you start thinking about what attracted you to that person, that switch is going to go yes. What happens? What happens is your body starts to react. Let's stick on that yes for your girlfriend or your boyfriend. What's going on? When that switch goes to yes, chemicals get released. Those chemicals that get released cause things to happen. Your heart rate increases, your breathing might increase, your muscles might tense up. A lot of things start to happen down here. And those things that are happening down here are sensed by your brain. And your brain says, okay, there's stuff going on. I feel my heart rate increasing. I feel this happening. I feel that happening. What's going on? Okay, the last time that was all going on, that was when I was making out with my girlfriend or my wife or my husband or my boyfriend, whatever it is. So then you start thinking about that. And that causes you to feel more of that good stuff, which causes you to think more of that good stuff, which causes you to feel more of that good stuff. Do you see how this cycle happens? Right? It's kind of like you're spiraling. You more and more good, more and more bad. Let's talk about the other side of this now. Actually, there's a piece here. What did we just talk about? We talked about you imagining someone. We talked about you thinking about someone, right? Where's that physically at? Where is that physically at? A few minutes ago, we were talking about gunshots and backfires, and we were talking about my finger, and that was all out here. Where is the imagination or the thought about your girlfriend or your boyfriend? Where is that happening? It's somewhere in here, right? Those have such a hardwired short circuit to this switch that you can't imagine. Your thoughts your fears, your insecurities, your doubts, your disbelief, all that stuff has a hardwired short circuit path to your switch. So if my finger has to go through the switch before it gets to your conscious recognition, do you think that your subconscious thoughts, your subconscious fears, or your subconscious desires, if you were thinking about your girlfriend or your boyfriend or your partner, your subconscious desires definitely can hit this switch before you're aware of that subconscious doing anything. That's the point. If you pick like that, that's everything right there, guys. What I'm saying and what has been proven and what is documented is, if this is you, this is your brain, this is your consciousness of you, this is your frontal lobe, this is you, and then this is your subconscious. Your subconscious's job is to protect you, is to keep you safe. If your subconscious could get its way, you would not move from the chair you're sitting in right now, ever. You just wouldn't, because you've lived to that point. Once you got hungry enough or thirsty enough that you had to get up to go eat something, you would. Why is that such a big deal? It's such a big deal because standing up and walking across the room is risking your life. Every move you make, every decision, every move you make, I'm going to reach over here and pick up my little beads. That right there, excuse me, had to go through a decision-making process that weighed the benefit versus the risk. Very low risk to pick up my beads. On the other hand, trying to drink a little bit of water in the middle of a webinar, huge risk. Might blow water everywhere. Thank you for that break. All right. So the point with that is that decision has to be made, right? If your subconscious doesn't want you to send that email or make that phone call or write that copy for your website or go ask that pretty girl, and you don't believe that you can do it, your subconscious is going to do everything it can to stop you. Everything it can means it's going to cause all kinds of imaginations to go off in your brain. They're going to sit there and smack that switch. And what's going to happen? We can go to the bar and we can talk about walking across the bar and talking to a pretty girl. We can talk about picking up a phone and making a sales call. We can talk about writing copy for an email. We can talk about anything you want, going to the gym and getting in shape. We can talk about anything. And your subconscious would rather you not, this is your subconscious. Your subconscious would rather you not go and exercise or go risk it and talk to that girl or make that sales call. It would rather you stay safe. So it's going to use everything it can to stop you, which translates to, before you're consciously aware of it, your subconscious is going to be hitting the switch. Next, hitting that switch into the yes position causes chemicals to react, causes chemicals to release. Those chemicals go down into your body and cause things to happen. Increased heart rate, increased breathing, tension, pupil dilation. All kinds of things happen when that switch goes to yes. That switch goes to yes, depending on what you were looking at. Like a few minutes ago, we were thinking about how awesome it was when you met your wife, right? It was good feelings. On the other hand, picking up that phone call, making that sales call, ooh, potentially bad feelings, scary feelings, right? What's going on in here for real, though? the same things. The only difference is what you're thinking about. So once that switch goes to yes, the chemicals get released, the body starts reacting. That reaction is sensed by the brain, and then the brain has to process those signals. And it decides whether it's a good feeling or a bad feeling, whether it's uplifting or limiting, right? Let's go with the normal. What normally happens, I get ready to make that sales call. I get a little nervous. This happened to me for decades. That's my goal, is I want to freaking shorten that up for you. I don't want you to spend decades having to learn this. You're getting this now. So right now is the start. You can freaking change the future. You don't have to wait for anything else. Everything you need is now, right here. All right, so here it was again. I look at that call. I look at writing copy. I look at something that makes me a little nervous. My switch gets to my subconscious, does its thing and says, you're scared. My body gets, my brain feels it and it says, okay, well, last time I felt that, he's looking at that phone. He doesn't want to make that phone call. So I'm going to remind him the last time he made that phone call, this bad thing happened and that bad thing happened. And all these things start spinning around and I start spiraling down, right? And the body reacts, making my brain react. It's this never-ending cycle. What's the longest you've been in one of those downward trends? Talked to somebody recently that was talking about, and there's different stuff going on. There's chemicals in the brain, and there's people that have real imbalances and stuff like that. I am not a freaking doctor. I am not a psychiatrist or a psychologist or whatever. I'm not that. I'm talking to the healthy people that don't have any brain injuries or anything like that. But here's the thing. Most of the time what happens is I'll get going down in a bad mood. I'm going to talk about me, not you or anybody else. I get going down into a bad mood. It used to take me days. I would be in a bad mood for a freaking week before, something would happen and it would make me go, okay, I guess it's not that bad. And then I would start getting in a better mood. Well, then there was other times when I would start to get into a bad mood, and then all of a sudden something would happen and remind me, it's not that bad, and I'd be out of that bad mood. So you can see the difference between a 15-second dip or a 3-week-long dip, right? What's more desired? The 15-second dip. That is what meditation gives you. The reason that you want to meditate, which is the task, which is the habit, which is the freaking secret bullet, okay, is because, as I've explained in depth, this switch can go to the yes position at any time, at any point, without you being consciously aware of why. A gunshot could go off, you dunk, right? At any moment, that can happen. You don't even, the way that this became apparent to me is I was watching recordings of my sales calls, and my voice and timbre would change. I got to the scary part of the discussion. It would change like way over here in the middle. I'm like, what the heck? That was because my subconscious knew what was coming. So it was like, put up a barrier, stop him now. And it was causing my switch to be tripped. The trick is being present in the moment. When your switch trips, your body is going to change. Being aware of what's going on in your body gives you the ability to then decide what your next action is. Meditation leads to that awareness. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not like you're going to sit there and have one little session and all of a sudden the world's going to be better. I keep saying, start the meditation habit. Start the journaling habit. Start them, because it's going to change. You're going to try this meditation. You're going to try that meditation. You're not going to like this one. You're going to love that one. You're going to try this journal. You're going to try that journal. And then all of a sudden you're going to find an awesome journal. It's a never ending process. Okay. But embrace it, because the freaking benefits are so worth it. Just got off a call with one of my favorite clients, and it was in a mastermind meeting, and he told a story about meditation and how it changed his life. What it did for him, he tied it directly to his wife. His marriage was going. Like, he's building a business, he's got a job, he's got 2 kids, he's actually got 3 kids, 2 in the house, 1 out of the house. All this stuff is going on, right? Every time he would sit down to dinner, his mind is on those 3 projects that were trying to make money instead of being right there with his wife. So, okay, he wants to make money and he's freaking focused on that. He does not like his job. He wants to get out of that thing. So we start talking and I tell him about meditation and I help him develop that meditation habit. This was about 1.5 years ago now. And today he was telling the story about how it's changed his and his wife's relationship. How incredibly in the moment he is because he knows now when he starts to feel something weird to take a couple deep breaths. Those deep breaths are literally the antidote for the switch being in the yes position. The chemicals that are being released when the switch goes to yes, the deep breaths literally release chemicals that quench those oh shit chemicals. So instead of sitting at dinner stressing about the client meeting that went bad or tomorrow's client meeting or whatever, instead of stressing about that stuff, and by being able to feel his body and recognize that he wasn't where he wasn't in the moment, he was thinking about and worrying about and stressing about other stuff, he was then able to take some breaths and focus. That's my point today, guys, ladies and gentlemen. Don't mean to offend anybody by leaving out ladies or guys or anything like that. What did I give you today? I gave you my background that explained why I know what I know. I gave you a new perspective on the benefits of meditating and journaling. I also gave you the silver bullet. A silver bullet is those deep breaths in the moment. My number one part of my framework, if you will, is think, do not react. That's why I make it somewhat difficult to actually work with me. There's a lot of people out there right now that are really good at working the crowd. We're talking about the internet now, right? There are these pitchmen out there. They'll get you excited, then they'll get you sad, then they'll get you excited, then they'll get you sad, then they'll get you excited, and then they'll say, buy now. I ain't like that. I'm fired up. I'm enthusiastic. All right? Don't get me wrong. I embrace it when I'm down too, and I embrace the sad times. And there's reason to stop and pause in those. But here's the thing. Today you've got an opportunity. I want to lay it out to you. Down below, you can see the belief circles and targets link down there, and it's for $74. You know what? What you're going to get with that? There's also a more info link down there that you might have checked out. I'm calling it a mini course because there's only 3 lessons, and you're going to get complete access to all of them immediately. Okay. Lesson number 1, and basically, like I said this in the beginning. Wrap it up for everybody that's just getting in, and it's 1 o'clock now. I hope you got what you needed to get out of this, guys. Start meditating, start journaling, and start practicing that deep breath. All right, so real quick, you just learned how to think, not react. You just learned, I gave you the silver bullet. When you start feeling the panic, when you start feeling the fear, when you start feeling the anxiety, or when Facebook distracts you, or when you think, I need to keep working on this article because it's not perfect yet, perfectionism, anything that stops you, as soon as you recognize that you're being stopped, the silver bullet, first off, you've got to be meditating and you've got to be journaling, because that stop, think of it this way, the longer that stop is stopping you, the thicker the wall is building. It's just building up a thicker and thicker wall to keep you there. The sooner you recognize it, the easier it is to get over that wall. You might want to look at it as growing the wall, right? So the sooner you recognize that you just got stopped, it's really easy just to go up and over. The longer that you sit there stopped, that wall grows higher and higher. It's harder to get back up here. That's why you want to meditate and journal. The thing that's going to get you over that wall is that silver bullet. The deep breathing. Then the next steps. Wherever you're going, the reason that wall came up is because you didn't believe that you could get there. If you set your goals and your targets appropriately inside your belief circles, that's another one of the hacks. Instead of knowing the right thing to do when this happens, wouldn't it be cool if that just never happened? That's the next step, guys. Belief circles and targets. Today you can get it for $74. The bonuses, 3 lessons. You can get study guides with that. There's a webinar that talks about meditation that I'm going to throw in with that. That's like a $50 value. And then here's the big one, $250 value. I want to make sure you get what you need out of this webinar and out of the training. And you're going to get a one-on-one with me for an hour. Normally that's at least $250, depends on the situation. So the freaking bonuses alone are worth $300. And you're getting in on a $300 course for only $75, $74, whatever it is. If you buy it now, if you buy it today, I'm going to throw in another one-on-one. My throat's starting to go here, guys. I got to run. I did not have enough water prepared. I'm going to throw in another one-on-one, a second one-on-one. So we get 2 one-on-ones to make sure that you understand everything that we're talking about to keep that wall out of your way. Why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I don't want anybody else to suffer for the decades that I suffered. I don't want you to be stuck and frustrated. That's why I'm doing it. All right, guys, it's been awesome. I really enjoyed it. I love telling the story because it's fun. And I know that somebody somewhere, one of you guys, I'm sorry, I'm going to go look at the questions real quick. I just remembered that. I just realized that. I apologize. There are several questions. I'm going to answer. I'm going to stick around for a couple more minutes and answer a couple questions. I've got to go read them. I didn't read them just now. But I mean, there's the bottom line, guys. There's the bottom line. Start meditating. Start journaling. Your silver bullet is your breaths. It's kind of funny. I'm trying to remember. Anger management. Adam Sandler and Jack Nicholson. Goose Fraba. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. I'm going to go look at the questions now and answer a couple questions. Let's see who we got. Amber is asking mini course. The reason, I'm sorry. The question is, why is this called a mini course? Why am I calling it a mini course? I was worried about that because the way that it sounds like you're getting this little thing. The reason I'm calling it a mini course is because this is a subset of a bigger course that I teach. A bigger complete course that I teach is called Get It Done 101. What I've done is I've taken the most important things out of Get It Done 101 and I've created this mini course because Get It Done 101 is a $2,000 product. It's a $2,000 course. If you're interested in that, send me an email. Hit the more info link down. Nope, that's not there anymore. I'm sorry. Send me an email. You're going to get a chance to hit a reply. If you're interested in Get It Done 101, whole different topic, whole different subject. We'll talk about that and we can make that happen. But the point is, I didn't want that to be the first thing, the only thing that's out there. I want to give people this power, this little bitty superpower, that silver bullet, and the understanding of these belief circles and targets, basically a little mini goal setting course. After you understand what's going on in the brain, it changes everything. Once you understand this and you apply those principles, meditation, journaling, you're able to do things differently. Doing things differently, goal setting, is the most important thing. Like I said, it keeps that wall out of the way. So I wanted to empower people with that before, at least, at a minimum. That's why I'm calling it a mini course. And you're right, I'll probably change the name of that at some point. So let's see, what other questions? Does anybody, if you got a question, now is the time to ask it. I'm going to stay on here for another 5 minutes or so, answering a couple more questions, okay? No, I'm sorry. Sorry, Brent. I'm not going to tell you guys the client that I was talking about with his wife and stuff like that. That would be rude. And I do that. I have confidentiality and all that stuff. There's no way I'm going to give away, you know, betray people's trust. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I'm glad you guys are still here. I didn't mention this before. 100% money back guarantee. You purchase today, regardless of when you purchase. If you're not happy with something that you get from me, money back. I don't want to argue about it, period. You know what I'm saying? But ain't nobody ever done that before. I don't see it happening. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like we talked about it. The stuff that I produce, I'm going to be honest, I don't have the resources that I used to have. In other words, I don't have the ability to make the spiral bound notebooks and put them, you know, distribute them to 1,000 Intel employees and all that good stuff. I don't have that ability anymore, but the content and what I'm providing is gold. And I know it is, but again, I'm going to believe it or back it up. So I'm sorry. The question was, what if the course sucks? What if I don't like it? What if it doesn't help me? If you aren't satisfied with this course and the material that it delivers, your money back guarantee, guaranteed. Now, here's the thing. If you don't go take the course, that ain't on me. I'm not going to give somebody their money back because, well, I didn't even go look at it. That's on you. I just gave you the secret, the silver bullet. I gave you everything you need right now to overcome your own insecurities. If you want some one-on-one coaching, that's something else I do. We can talk about that too. Let's see. Another question is who is this? Lisa? Lisa. Okay. Lisa, to answer the question, here's the question. How is the course delivered? You are going to get an invitation within the next 48 hours to, assuming you purchased it. Within 2 days of that, you will get an invitation to join a web-based platform called Kajabi. And all the courses are on Kajabi. You can go watch them anytime you want to. Lifetime access until I take that course down because I'll replace it with something better. And if I do that, then the material that I replace it with, you'll get to keep all that stuff. Yeah. And there's study guides. That's also the place where you will download the study guides. I'm planning on sending the study guides and emails as well, but I haven't set that up yet. All right. What else? You know what, guys? I need to get out of here. Let me see if I can answer another question really quick. Let's see. So yeah, there's. Hang on one second. Hang on. Let me make sure I get the name right. Rufus. Okay. Rufus. Rufus asked a question about the. Oof. He asked a specific question about a specific circumstance. I'm going to change it a little bit. Just protect the identity of the innocent or the guilty, however it may be. Basically, it goes back to the same thing. Have you ever, when you, I apologize, everybody. I'm having to think through how to rephrase this. All right, here we go. Think about something you need to get done. Think about a goal that you have. Think about the tasks that you need to do to get to that goal. Let's make believe that it's be a millionaire. I want to be a millionaire. Valid goal. A lot of us do, right? All right. I want to be a millionaire, right? In order to be a millionaire, there's a lot of stuff that's got to happen. One, I got to get $1 million. How do I get $1 million? Is it going to be the business you're in? Is it going to be a business connection you make? Is it going to be a lottery? Is it going to be inheritance? Is it going to, there's a lot of stuff there. But let's not go there yet. What else? you're probably going to have to come up with some kind of money management plan. Have you ever managed $1 million before? Have you ever managed that kind of wealth and done something with it? Like prevented people from taking it from you? You know, like the lottery winners, man, people come out the woodwork looking for lottery winners, right? They got the newest, greatest, best thing in the world that lottery winner needs to invest in, or that lottery winner needs their service, or whatever it is. They're everywhere. Well, what about taxes? All right, so the point of what I just did is one of those things, when you're thinking about being a millionaire and, you know, building the business, making the money, taxes, I'm just going to say taxes. I don't need to talk about that one. Managing the wealth, one of those things typically causes the anxiety. So when Rufus was asking a question about the specific anxiety, and what I'm saying is what that is, that anxiety that you feel, that frustration that you feel, you're going towards something, and that's the wall coming up. And when that wall comes up, you feel it. You feel that friction. You feel that anxiety. You feel it. That's when you take that silver bullet. Now, it might take 5 or 10 breaths, depending on how big and how fast that wall came up, right? And how scary that wall is. It might take 5 or 10 breaths. But the point is, now you have the power. That's when you use the bullet, right? Is you take that breath and you look at that wall. You look at that anxiety and you say, well, what is that anxiety? I'm going to go with taxes. Let's say it's taxes. I don't want to pay taxes on $1 million. I'm afraid of that. I don't know how to do that. How do I pay the minimum amount of tax? That right there is your subconscious trying to stop you. Right now, a few minutes ago, I was getting ready to make a sales call. And ultimately, it was because I want to make a whole bunch of sales calls and make $1 million. And that's when that anxiety struck me, right? That's when you take the silver bullet. And that's when you ask yourself, is there anything to be afraid of right now? I'm worrying about the taxes on $1 million, but I don't have $1 million. And all I was doing was getting ready to make a phone call. Is this phone call going to give me $1 million? If I do 1 million, if I do 2 million or 10 million phone calls, maybe, but I need to make this phone call. I want to make this phone call. This anxiety is about something that doesn't exist. This anxiety is coming from in here. Make that phone call because it's all cool. All right, guys. I hope you had fun. I'm sorry I didn't say ladies. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you had fun. Have a freaking awesome day and stay tuned. Be sure and go like Enthusiastically on Facebook. All right, guys.